There are moments in life when silence feels heavier than words, when a single breath decides the kind of person you'll be. I remember one of those moments vividly. It was an ordinary afternoon, the kind that doesn't warn you before it changes something inside you forever. A man raised his voice at me in a crowded room. I could feel the heat rise through my body, that familiar storm of pride, anger, and the instinct to strike back. For a second, I wasn't thinking, I was reacting. And in that fragile space between impulse and reason, I could have destroyed everything that mattered to me, my peace, my dignity, my control. It's strange how easily we surrender our power, not to the world, but to our own emotions. One careless word, one look, one insult, and suddenly, we hand the steering wheel of our life to anger, fear, or ego. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They call it being human, but I call it something else, forgetting who you are. That day, as my pulse pounded in my ears, I remembered something I'd read in Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Those words didn't sound poetic anymore. They sounded like a command. I took one breath, then another. And in that small pause, something changed. The storm was still there, but I wasn't inside it anymore. I was watching it, observing it, choosing. That was the first time I truly understood what the Stoics meant when they said, respond, not react. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being free. Because the moment you react without awareness, you are a slave to whatever triggered you. But the moment you respond, deliberately, calmly, you become untouchable. This isn't easy. It's a battle fought in silence, every day, inside your own mind. The Stoics knew that. They didn't wait for calm seas. They trained themselves to stay steady in the storm. Marcus, Seneca, Epictetus, they all practiced one thing above all else, mastery over themselves. Not over others, not over fate, but over that invisible part of the soul that decides what comes next. When people talk about strength, they often imagine muscles, armies, domination. But real strength is quieter. It's the power to walk away when your pride demands war, to hold your tongue when your ego wants to speak, to stay composed when chaos tries to drag you down with it. That's the kind of strength Stoicism teaches, not the kind that conquers others, the kind that conquers yourself. And that's what this journey is about. Not learning how to fight harder, but how to remain unshaken. Not learning how to control the world, but how to control the only thing that ever truly belongs to you, your mind. You see, the world will test you endlessly. It will insult you, betray you, tempt you, and disappoint you. But none of that determines who you are. The test is always the same. Will you react like everyone else, or will you respond like the person you're meant to be? That choice, that tiny space between what happens and what you do, that's where your power lives. Every Stoic understood it. Every great mind who ever sought peace understood it. And the truth is, you don't need a monastery or a philosophy degree or a perfect life to practice it. You just need awareness, the courage to pause, the discipline to choose reason over reaction, clarity over chaos, peace over pride. When you master that, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, there's nothing left to fear. So if you're here because you want to build that kind of inner strength, if you want to walk through life unshaken, no matter what comes your way, you're in the right place. This channel isn't about escaping emotions or pretending to be perfect. It's about becoming grounded enough to face everything with grace, with wisdom, and with calm. Because that's what it means to live stoically, to live free. If you believe in that, if you want to become someone who responds instead of reacts, then subscribe. Stay with me and let's grow through this together. Every video, every story, every reflection here is another step toward that freedom of the mind that only the Stoics truly understood. Now tell me, be honest with yourself. When life hits you hard, which one are you? A. The one who reacts fast, emotional, impulsive. B. The one who pauses, reflects, and chooses peace. Comment your answer below, A or B. And let's see how many of us are learning to respond, not react. I used to think control meant winning every argument, managing every outcome, staying one step ahead of everyone and everything. But the more I chased control, the less of it I actually had. Because control over the world is an illusion, and the harder you cling to it, the more it slips through your fingers. The Stoics understood this long before psychology ever caught up. They believed that peace begins not when life stops testing you, but when you stop mistaking everything for a test. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I thought I could shape every situation to my will. I'd plan, predict, anticipate, convinced that if I just tried hard enough, things would bend to my design. But life doesn't care about your plans. People disappoint you. The market shifts. Accidents happen. You get sick. Someone leaves. And no matter how prepared you think you are, there will always be something, one thing, that reminds you how small your control really is. That realization used to terrify me. The loss of control felt like death, until I realized it was liberation. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything, you finally begin to control the one thing that matters, yourself. That's the essence of Stoicism. Epictetus said it best. Some things are within our control, others are not. And in that single truth lies the line between suffering and serenity. Think about it. Most of our pain doesn't come from what happens, but from our insistence that it shouldn't have happened. We fight reality as if our protest could rewrite it. But Stoicism teaches something radically different. Accept reality, not with resignation, but with wisdom. The world is not your enemy, it's your mirror. Every obstacle, every insult, every storm is simply revealing where you still lack discipline, where you're still ruled by emotion instead of reason. There's an ancient story I often think about. A man walks through the market, and a stranger spits on him. The crowd waits for him to explode, to demand justice, to retaliate. But instead, he wipes his face and says, "I only wish I could be as indifferent to insult as you are to respect." That is Stoic power. To remain unshaken when provoked. To understand that the insult belongs to the one who gives it, not the one who receives it. But let's be honest, this kind of mastery doesn't come naturally. We are emotional creatures, wired to react. Evolution made sure of it. The fight or flight reflex once kept us alive. But in the modern world, those same instincts destroy relationships, reputations, and inner peace. That's why Stoicism isn't a theory, it's a training. You don't read it. You practice it. Every conversation, every frustration, every delay is an invitation to train your mind to respond instead of react. The Stoics saw the mind like a city under siege. Thoughts are the soldiers, and emotions are the citizens. If reason rules, the city thrives. If passion takes over, chaos reigns. To live well is to guard the gates, to decide what enters, what stays, and what must be dismissed. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor-philosopher, reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled an empire, yet his greatest victory was not over nations. It was over himself. So how do you apply this? It begins with awareness, catching yourself in the moment, before emotion takes control. When you feel anger rise, ask, "Is this within my control?" When you feel anxiety swell, ask, "What depends on me here and what doesn't?" If it's not yours to control, let it go. If it is, act with reason and courage. That's how Stoicism turns philosophy into armor. It doesn't make you cold. It makes you unbreakable. I remember reading something from Seneca. "He who is brave is free." At first, I didn't understand it. But now I see. Courage isn't about facing danger outside. It's about facing the chaos within. The courage to stay calm when insulted. To stay kind when wronged. to stay centered when everything tries to pull you apart. That's the bravery the Stoics spoke of, the kind that frees you from being a prisoner of every emotion that passes through your mind. We live in a world obsessed with control, controlling image, success, people, timing. But true control isn't about bending the world to your will. It's about mastering the only realm where freedom truly exists, the space between what happens and how you respond. That's where peace lives. That's where power begins. So when life hits you next time, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this teaching me?" Because everything, every delay, insult, and disappointment is a lesson in disguise. And the moment you stop reacting to life and start responding with intention, you begin to rise above it. That's the paradox the Stoics discovered. The less you try to control the world, the more control you have over your world. And that's the kind of power no one can take from you. There's a moment every day when the world tests what you've learned. It never announces itself. It might come through a careless comment, a delay, a rejection, a driver cutting you off. You feel it first in your body. The pulse quickens, the chest tightens, your thoughts begin to race. That's the moment when everything you've practiced about Stoicism either comes alive or disappears. Because philosophy is not proven in calm, it's proven in fire. I remember one morning when I failed that test. Someone accused me unfairly of something I didn't do. The words hit like a strike of lightning, and before I knew it, I was already defending myself, voice raised, tone sharp, hands clenched. By the time I walked away, I had said things I didn't mean. I had reacted. Later, I sat alone, ashamed of how easily I had surrendered to the heat of the moment. And that's when it hit me. Control isn't something you have once and for all. It's something you build, second by second, decision by decision, in the quiet space before the storm takes you. The Stoics had a phrase for that space, the discipline of assent. The ability to pause between the event and your judgment of it. To ask, is this within my control, or is it just noise? It sounds simple, but it's everything. Because most of our suffering doesn't come from what happens. It comes from our opinions about what happens. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind has the power to turn any obstacle into a tool for growth. Every insult is a lesson in humility. Every delay is a test of patience. Every loss is a reminder of what's truly essential. The world doesn't conspire against you. It trains you. So I began to practice differently. Instead of reacting, I started observing. When frustration rose, I would name it: anger, impatience, pride. Just naming it took away some of its power. When I felt wronged, I tried to step outside myself, to see the moment as if I were watching it happen to someone else. How would a wise person respond? How would someone who values peace over pride act? That's when I realized self-awareness is the beginning of mastery. You can't control what you don't notice. It's not about becoming emotionless. It's about seeing emotions as visitors, not rulers. Anger may knock on your door, but you decide whether to let it stay. Anxiety might whisper in your ear, but you choose whether to listen. Each emotion carries information. It's your job to interpret it, not obey it. The Stoics didn't suppress their feelings. They transformed them into strength. Fear became caution. Pain became perspective. Frustration became focus. Over time, I learned to treat each reaction as a mirror. Whenever something triggered me, I'd ask, what is this revealing about me? Was it pride, insecurity, the need to be right, the need to be seen? Slowly, I realized that life wasn't trying to provoke me. It was trying to teach me where I was still weak. And every time I paused instead of reacting, I felt a quiet victory. Not over others, but over the chaos inside me. That's the art of response. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. The awareness to catch yourself before emotion turns into action. The strength to breathe before you speak. The wisdom to remember that no situation has power over you unless you hand it that power. When you start living that way, something changes. You stop being thrown around by life's waves, and you start steering your own ship through them. And the truth is, that's what Stoicism really gives you, not a set of rules, but a compass. A way to navigate the storms without losing your direction. The storms don't stop, but you do. You stop being at their mercy. There's a moment, subtle but powerful, when you realize that most of what disturbs you has nothing to do with the outside world. The storm isn't out there, it's in here. I remember sitting alone one night after a long, difficult day. The kind of day where everything seemed to go wrong. Plans collapsing, people disappointing you, words cutting deeper than they should. I wanted to blame anyone. But the longer I sat in that silence, the clearer it became. The battle wasn't with them. It was with myself. We live our lives expecting the world to treat us fairly, to follow the rules we've built inside our own heads. But life doesn't care about our expectations. It's indifferent, like the wind, blowing wherever it pleases, unconcerned with what we hoped for. The Stoics understood this. They didn't seek to bend life into comfort. They sought to bend themselves into strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That single truth changes everything. Because the moment you accept that nothing outside of you can truly harm you, not a person, not an insult, not even fate, you become untouchable. There was a time when I thought peace meant avoiding conflict, removing myself from chaos. But Stoicism taught me something different. Peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the presence of clarity. It's standing in the middle of the storm and remaining calm because you've learned the difference between what's yours to control and what isn't. The world can rage, people can misunderstand you, plans can fall apart, but if your mind stays steady, then nothing is truly lost. I remember watching an old man once, standing in line at a store while someone shouted at him for no reason. The man didn't respond. He didn't flinch. He simply looked at the person with quiet understanding, as if to say, "Your anger belongs to you, not to me." That image stayed with me. Because strength isn't proven through loud words or quick retaliation. It's proven in restraint. In the decision not to let someone else's chaos disturb your peace. That's the heart of Stoicism. Not weakness, not suppression, but discipline. The discipline to choose stillness over noise. Every time we react impulsively, we reinforce the illusion that the world controls us. But every time we pause, breathe, and respond deliberately, we reclaim our power. The Stoics called this freedom, not freedom from laws or society, but freedom from being a slave to our emotions. It's the kind of freedom that can't be given or taken away. The truth is, life will always find new ways to test you. You'll be misunderstood, provoked, ignored. But none of that defines you. What defines you is how you respond. Do you let anger speak for you, or do you let wisdom do the talking? Do you fight every battle, or do you reserve your energy for the ones that matter? That's the Stoic challenge, to live deliberately, to remain unmoved by what you cannot change, and to act with intention in what you can. Every day offers that choice. Every conversation, every conflict, every disappointment. You can't control what the world throws at you, but you can control how you catch it, or whether you catch it at all. That's the quiet revolution Stoicism invites us to lead, not out there, but in here. The revolution of the mind. The moment you stop reacting and start responding, you're no longer just surviving the world. You're shaping how you move through it. And that's where true freedom begins. Not when life becomes easy, but when your mind becomes stronger than whatever life brings. There came a day when I finally understood that control, presence, and peace weren't things to chase. They were things to return to. They had always been there, beneath the noise, beneath the reactions, buried under layers of fear and ego. The Stoics didn't invent wisdom, they uncovered it. They stripped life down to what truly mattered. What is in your control? and what is not. Everything else is distraction, beautifully convincing, but still distraction. I remember sitting by the sea one evening, watching the tide pull the waves back and forth. The same water that could destroy ships moved with such quiet rhythm. And I thought, maybe mastery looks like that. Not stillness in the sense of being unmoving, but balance in motion. The waves don't fight the wind. They yield, they flow, they return. That's what Stoic composure is. Not detachment from life, but harmony with it. For years, I tried to win every argument, to fix every misunderstanding, to protect my reputation from every rumor. I wasted so much energy trying to control what others thought of me. But you can't reason with every opinion, just as you can't stop every storm. The Stoics knew this. If you anchor yourself in virtue, in reason, courage, justice, and self-discipline, the world's judgment loses its power. Because true respect, the kind that endures, doesn't come from convincing others you're right. It comes from proving to yourself that you are unshaken. Marcus Aurelius led armies and ruled an empire, yet his greatest command was over his own mind. Seneca lived among power and wealth, but warned that no fortune could make a man free if his desires ruled him. Epictetus, born a slave, taught kings that no chain could bind the soul that had mastered itself. These men lived centuries apart, but their message remains the same. You are not what happens to you. You are what you choose to do next. Every reaction is a fork in the road. You can lash out, retreat, surrender to anger, or you can pause, breathe, and choose the higher path. That pause is the birthplace of freedom. It's the proof that you are not a prisoner of instinct. And once you discover that pause, once you learn to live from it, your life changes. Conversations become calmer. Decisions become clearer. The noise loses its grip. You begin to respond, not out of fear or pride, but out of alignment. There's a power in that alignment that people can feel. It's not loud, it's not showy. It's the quiet authority of someone who no longer needs validation to know their worth. The Stoics called this euthymia, a sense of inner contentment and direction. When you reach that state, even failure loses its sting. Because you no longer define yourself by outcomes. You define yourself by your effort, your intention, your composure. In a world where everyone is reacting, the one who responds becomes a leader. Not because they dominate others, but because they guide by example. They walk into chaos and bring calm. They face insult and bring clarity. They meet fear and bring courage. That is real strength. And it's something every one of us can build, no matter where we start. The Stoics weren't gods. They were humans like us, flawed, tested, tempted. Their power came not from perfection, but from persistence. They failed, reflected, learned, and tried again. That's all mastery really is, the practice of returning to the right path every time you wander. So here's the truth I've learned. Peace isn't something you find at the end of the journey. It's something you create along the way. One disciplined thought, one measured response, one quiet breath at a time. And every time you do, you step closer to the life the Stoics spoke of, not one without difficulty, but one beyond it. If you've listened this far, you're already on that path. You're seeking not noise, but depth. Not comfort, but truth. That's what this channel is about, training the mind to respond, not react, to turn storms into teachers, to build strength not from dominance, but from discipline. So if this message speaks to you, if you believe that growth begins the moment you stop running from yourself, then join this journey. Subscribe, stay with us. Each week, we dive deeper into the art of self-mastery, ancient wisdom, and modern strength. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to control the world, only yourself. And when you master that, you master everything.